So the next step in creating a tonal drawing that helps us figure out the lights and darks in a particular image is to initially make a linear version, figure out your overall composition, and then refine it and make it into a map. So I'm going to take away some of these lines that I added in just to kind of help me know what the overall ratio of the picture is going to be. And then I want to come in and basically notice in the image some of the areas that are a little darker and basically create a map of those areas. So I'm thinking about my areas of lightest light. I'm thinking about my areas of darkest dark in here down the side. And it's almost like I'm making a jigsaw puzzle out of it. So this dark, and then its cast shadow is also very dark. And I'm creating this map, and all the shapes are more or less closed shapes, so that ultimately I might be able to assign a name, or I can say, well, this is a mid-tone, and this is a dark, and this is a mid-dark. And it's really important in doing this to look at how things compare to each other, obviously, and also recognize the polarities of light and dark, in that unless you push the darks as dark as they need to go, or create the lights as light as they need to go, what can happen is that the midtones start to sort of become this mush in the middle, and they can't have their own identity. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just coming in and creating a map of all the lights and darks that I see. I'm not blending things together. I'm just looking at the way that they're working together. And then I can think about mapping this in 5 tonal notes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And number 5 is going to be my darkest dark. Number 1 is going to be white. 2, 3, and 4 are going to be my midtones. So I can practice this with whatever drawing tool I'm using. I can make a dark. I can make number 4 be a bit lighter. I can make 3 be a little lighter still. And I can make 2 be quite light, and then to 1. So the idea here is to try to make a pretty regular progression of gradation from your darkest dark to your next lightest, to your next lightest, to there. So that's a good thing to do when you're trying to figure out what's what. And then we can create a map with these numbers. And rather than actually coloring in the picture, sometimes I'll say this is a 5, one of my darkest darks. This is also a 5. What's happening here to me is a 1 on the table. Is very, very bright. This is also a 1. This I'm going to call a 2. This I'm going to call a 3 and a 5 and another 5. This I might call a 3, a 5, a 5. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm just assigning numbers. I'm going to call this a 4. I'm going to call this a 2, and I might call this a 3, a 5. And so if I hadn't made these closed shapes, then I wouldn't have been able to assign these numbers to them. And these numbers are like a puzzle, so that ultimately, if I handed this to you without the image, I'm going to make this a 2. And I handed this to you without the image, and I said, okay, I want you to color this in based on my map, you'd be able to do that because I did the work for you. I already created this map, and I divided it into sections, And I think that, actually I'm going to divide this into two sections here, a 4 and a 5. So as I look at it, sometimes I also start to realize, oh, you know, I need to make adaptations. But this would be the next step, is mapping the image into 1 to 5 tonal, I'm going to call them tonal zones. And from that, from those tonal zones, then we can start to work into some tonal rendering or collage or painting. But this is the first step, this mapping.